Good morning, my beautiful soul followers. Hope everyone is starting their day out amazingly. So, speaking of this morning I was looking at some of those Facebook memories that pop up. I had one that was making me just like, started cracking up at like 6:30 in the morning. I was like looking at it and I was cracking up. It was the first time I ever drove a golf cart, and I was with a friend and in another country, and I just like was cracking up. It's actually one of my favorite travel memories. It was really fun. But that is not what our video is about today. That's not what our video is about today. But I was looking through those memories, and another memory that came up was actually this article I had written about a year or two ago about the perception of stars that I was looking at with some friends. I was out in the country looking at some stars, and each person was looking at this array of stars in the sky. It was beautiful, beautiful sky. And each person had this different perception of the sky. Each person was looking at the sky and saw something different. I think one person saw a lotus flower. One person, saw almost the stars kind of doing this dance situation. And then another person, I think, kept seeing the shooting stars that were going across the sky, because the sky was incredibly active that day. It was incredibly active that day. And I remember thinking, wow, each and every person is looking at the exact same sky, and yet we're filtering it completely different. Now, I remember asking a friend that saw the lotus. I was like, the lotus flower in the sky, and I went, what do you see? What are you seeing? And this person shared, and then as soon as they shared, and as soon as I backed off of my perception of the sky, I was like, oh yeah, I totally see that. And it really got me thinking. And so when I was rereading it today, it just felt very, very applicable to our world right now, but especially to our intimate relationships, because what's going on in the macrocosm always is going on in the microcosm. So the fact is, this same thing comes into our intimate relationships, and it is our perceptions. And while we can say, no, I'm going to just witness everything, guess what? We all have our perceptions, and our foundational pieces really do make the difference in the different perceptions that we have of something, someone, the energy. So for example, if your partner comes in the house and slams the door, your perception immediately from that energy could be, oh my goodness, they're angry at me. What did I do? Guess what? That's your ego. Or you can be like, what's his problem or her problem? Guess what? That's also your ego. You could be like, they're angry. You could filter that. And guess what? Those perceptions come from a psychological place in our mind from very young, a lot of times, where we had to make sense of what was going on around us. And so we learn to fit things into boxes. And as adults, we have to, and as conscious beings, as people who are wanting to open ourselves up to learning and seeing more and going deeper with somebody else, we have to learn to pause our perceptions of things and really listen and go, okay, is that true? Somebody who's quiet, you might go, oh, they think they're better than everybody. Or you could be like, they're pouty. You could think a million different things. But I bet if you ask that person and you paused your perception of them, then you would get a different perspective. It's not about changing your perception completely. It's about opening up the ability for something else to be going on as well. Guess what? We all have our realities, but each of us has our reality. And so if we want to actually, in relationship, see how we're showing up, because guess what? Other people have their perceptions of us as well. And I know that we might want to go, I don't give a F what anybody thinks about me. But we can learn so much about other people, about ourselves by other people's perceptions. So if we continue to get the same perception, or our energy shows up the same way to people, we have to go, okay, this is not what I'm feeling. So what is it that I'm doing that is giving this energy off? What is it that I'm thinking that's giving this energy off? Why am I manifesting this? And then vice versa, we might look at people and start assigning, or especially our intimate partners, because guess what? The closer we get to somebody, the more we want to just assume and assign because we think we know them, which is bullshit. We don't know anybody. But the more that we really can step into really an inquiry of like, you just slammed the door, what's going on? What's going on? And really be like, what's going on? And exit that assumption and really just give a little space for somebody else, for a different perception, the better we can do. And also it's very important to look at, okay, I'm perceiving this act as this, and then look internally. And this is how we do our own healing work. It really is to go, okay, why do I jump to that? Why is that my go-to? Why is that my assumption? And because you can learn about where your triggers are, where your trauma is. And yes, I'm going to use that word, your trauma. Your trauma. So I know for myself, and I'm processing for a second the story I want to tell, but I know for myself, there are certain things I can go, okay, yeah, that triggers my shit. And so I have to sit and go, okay, wow, I see where I keep falling into this pattern. And then I heal it, and then I change it, and then I up level it. And guess what? A lot of times these patterns will come up again and again. It's not about completely erasing the pattern, because those foundational pieces tend to be really fucking strong. They are really strong. They were some of our base level building blocks. And so to change the foundation of our entire lives takes time. You can do it, but it does take some time. It takes looking at that perception. For example, like worthiness. I hear this all the time in my couples and my individual sessions around worthiness. People not thinking they're worthy because of lessons they learned when they were very young, or things that they were told very young or experienced very young. And it does take that continuing to come back. Now, they might not experience that for a very long time, and then guess what? At a hard time, it might come back up. But we're learning it from a different level each time we see it, hopefully. Hopefully we're not continuing the spiral at the same level, and we're seeing it and we're growing at a different level each time. But it is kind of going back to our main topic. It is important, especially in our world right now. There is so much anger and so much mistrust and so much blaming and so much labeling that we've really stopped listening to each other. And I can tell you, if we start to ruin our most intimate, close relationships by doing that same shutting down process, then the fact is we're going to shut down all, and I know I'm kind of going off here, but shut down all the love in the world, because guess what? How we are in our intimate relationships will ripple out. So if we're not willing to listen and pause and truly get a different perspective and see someone else's perception, it's hard for us to grow. It's hard for us to trust. And we really do get in our egos. We get into a space of our egos and going, I am right. I am basically God. I know it all. And you're wrong. And your perception doesn't, like, that is very, it's just egoic, and it's very disconnecting of our humanness. And so today it's less about teaching and it's more about you looking at truly where you could be doing this, where you, if someone's in a weird energy, you assign what's going on. You assign, oh, they're in a bad mood. They're in a bad mood. Maybe they're just thinking a lot. Maybe they're just thinking a lot. I was staring out off in space the other day, and somebody's like, "You're really tired." I'm like, "No, actually, I was in my head. I was thinking. I was processing something. I'm actually not tired. I'm just really processing." So look at where you're making those assumptions, especially in your most intimate relationships. And you will be amazed at how much growth you can do by just pausing and witnessing somebody else's linear thought process. This is actually why I got into psychology, because even as a kid, I loved it. My Virgo brain loves seeing how somebody gets from here to here to here to here to here, to making this assumption, to making that assumption. And basically, most people have a rationale for their actions, a rationale for why they reacted or acted a certain way. But it just takes us pausing and having the compassion, at least, to listen, and the care of somebody else to listen and really hear. So this is something we all can learn from, self included. I'm not perfect. Actually, no, I am perfect. No. We all can learn from this. And so that is my challenge today, is for you to really go in and pause your perception and just be willing to hear somebody else's viewpoint. Somebody else's viewpoint, and maybe see a different side. And then you can always go back to your perception. It doesn't take your perception away. It just gives you an opportunity to open your mind and to open your heart to somebody else. So, all right, guys, I am going to let you go for the day. I've had a ton of inquiry about my men's O camp. I still have 1 or 2 seats left, so if you are interested in coming to that, it's this weekend. I was like, it's in 3 days, but it's in 4 days. It's this weekend, and I still have 1 or 2 seats open. So head over to addisonbell.net and you can register for that. If you're wanting one-on-one coaching, if you're wanting energy work, if you're wanting to heal, wanting to up-level, head over to the same site and fill out a application for a consultation, and we can work together to see how we can move you forward for the coming year, because we are ready in October, guys. We are ready in October. Time is a ticking. All right, guys, I love you, and I will see you tomorrow for another Addison Unleashed.